Hello and welcome to the Path to Freedom podcast, a weekly podcast with the intention to inspire, empower and uplift us all to develop a healing consciousness that we, that is you and me, may forever allow for greater and grander versions and expressions of who and what we are to emerge with ease, grace and spiritual dignity. My name is Daniel Roquillo and I am your host. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Path to Freedom podcast, a weekly podcast about developing a healing consciousness, releasing and letting go of fear and worry and doubt, of reaching and sustaining and maintaining and increasing a sense of freedom and joy and harmony and abundance and love and wholeness, and so forth and so forth. Ultimately, this podcast is to inspire and empower. Is to inspire and empower us to forever allow for greater and grander expressions and versions of who and what we are to emerge in our lives, that we continuously grow and unfold and expand. That's the ultimate purpose and intention of this podcast. So I welcome you here. If this is the first time you tune in, I want to extend a special welcome. If you are returning, I want to extend a special welcome to you as well. All are equally welcome. Newbies as well as seasoned followers. This episode is kind of a follow-up on last week's episode. If you remember, last week we talked about reconnecting, disconnecting and reconnecting, and we talked about various ways of reconnecting with the spirit, reconnecting with the nowness of this moment, coming back to the now, stepping out of time, releasing thoughts and releasing thoughts, period, of past, future, the present, but anchoring ourselves in the nowness of this moment where there is only and thus accessing the peace that is here, the joy that is here, the harmony, the wholeness that is here, the love, the abundance that is here in this moment. And so one of the ways we talked about last week to do this, to come back to the nowness of this moment, was prayer. And today we're going to expand on that a little. This whole episode is going to be about prayer. And the topic for today, let's see if I can remember it. Pray yourself up, I believe. All right. So that was the introduction, but as always, before we move into the episode, let's have a moment of stillness, a moment of meditation, a moment of coming back to the nowness of this moment, of resetting, of starting anew, reconnecting. And so in this moment, I invite you to make yourself comfortable. I invite you to put a smile on your face, informing the body that truly all is well. That truly all is well. I invite you to gently tap between your eyebrows, activating a higher level of seeing and hearing, not with your eyes or ears, but with that which is behind your eyes and ears. And I invite you to close your eyes, place your hands in your lap, palms facing upward, having your thumb and middle finger touch. And I invite you to remind yourself, and I am reminding myself, that this is the very first time that I am meditating, that we are meditating. Each moment is a fresh start. Each moment is a new beginning. And so the you and the I that is sitting here about to move into meditation has never meditated before. The you and the me that meditated yesterday was not the same as the you and me today. So this is the very first time. And so we enter into the meditation with a childlike nature, with childlike curiosity, open, available, receptive to catch guidance, insights, revelations. And also, we want to set an intention for this meditation, for meditation period. And the intention always should be something along the lines of waking up or expanding our consciousness. I always used to say that my intention for meditating, and this is my life's intention as well, my intention for sitting in meditation is to wake up to who and what God is and my absolute oneness with it. So this is my intention for meditating. And as we turn our attention toward our breath, we give each breath permission to relax our bodies, to move us into the stillness. And whatever we may have brought with us into the meditation, we now seek to let it go, to release it, that we may immerse ourselves fully in the nowness of this moment. So we turn our attention to our breath, and we let it lay there. We let it stay there. And if and when we drift away, we gently and lovingly turn our attention back to our breath. And we begin again. No judgment, no opinion, no condemnation. Simply love and compassion. And as we sit, if something comes up, a thought pattern, an emotion, a physical sensation, we seek to merely embrace and allow it We don't need to do anything with it. We don't need to invest in it. We don't need to explore it. We don't need to change it. We don't need to deny it. We don't need to give it permission to run us. But we can simply observe it. We can simply embrace it. We can simply allow it. And as I, in a moment, move us into prayer, I invite you to remain just as you are, relaxed, centered and grounded in the nowness of this moment, eyes closed. Open, available, receptive. You may catch the vibration and the frequency of the prayer, allowing it to lift you even higher. And so in this moment, how grateful I am. How very, 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 very grateful I am for this moment, for the nowness of this moment and the beauty that is here, the love that is here, the joy that is here, the harmony that is here, the wholeness that is here in this moment. How grateful I am that I get to come back to the nowness of this moment. How grateful I am for that still small voice within me that guides me, urges me, leads me and moves me to seek to come back to the nowness of this moment on a constant and regular basis. How grateful I am for my intentions that continuously moves me deeper and deeper and deeper, and also higher and higher and higher into ever-expanding levels of consciousness. And I'm filled with gratitude for this podcast, for this episode, and for the topic that has come through me. I'm deeply grateful for your participation in this, your co-creation in this. I'm deeply grateful that you choose to be here, that you choose to tune in regardless of when and where you are tuning in. You are tuning into this field which is non-local. It's an infinite field. So it's not relegated to time. It's not bound by space. But this field is everywhere and always. And because of your participation, this field is expanding and is raised to a higher level. So thank you. I'm so grateful for your participation. I'm so grateful for the technology that allows us to connect and commune in this way, to co-create this field. So from this space of gratitude, I recognize the allness, the goodness, the eternality, and the infinitude of spirit. But God is all there is, infinite, omnipresent. God is forever sourcing and fueling and funding itself. And as God is both the creator and the creation. God is forever, eternally sourcing and fueling and funding all of creation. Forever sustaining and maintaining all of creation. Moving and guiding and leading all of creation into forever greater and grander expressions of itself. I'm so grateful to recognize that God is infinite love, infinite peace, infinite joy, infinite harmony, infinite abundance, infinite wholeness, infinite beauty, infinite intelligence, infinite creativity. That God cannot ever diminish itself, contradict itself. But God, being eternal, is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Unchangeable, unchanging. And this I'm one with. I and God are one. I am God expressing itself in, as, and through me. I am wholeness expressing itself in, as, and through me. I'm love expressing itself in, as, and through me. I am the essence of spirit, the full essence expressing itself in, as, and through me. Forever sourced, fueled, and funded, sustained and maintained, guided and moved and led. And as I know that this is the truth of me, I know that it is the truth of you. Wherever, whenever you are spirit expressing itself in, as, and through you. The full essence of God expressing itself in, as, and through you. Forever sourced, fueled, and funded. Forever sustained and maintained. Forever guided and moved and led. And so right where we are, all is well. All is well. Spirit is forever for each of us. Because God cannot go against itself, contradict itself. So Spirit has to be for us because we are Spirit. Something wonderful is happening right now in this very moment. Something wonderful is happening. And as we're doing it right now, as we make ourselves open and available and receptive, we give God permission to flow through us in ways beyond our imagination, beyond anything we have previously imagined, hoped for, dreamed of. All is well. Wholeness is. Peace is. Love is. Harmony is. Abundance is. And everything that has heretofore obstructed, obscured, hindered our full realization of all of the good of Spirit is now dissolved, disintegrated, transmuted into the nothingness from which it came. It is no more. It is no more. All is well. All is well. And full of gratitude and thanksgiving and appreciation, I release this word into the law. I surrender to the word. I surrender to the law, saying, Thy will be done, and knowing and feeling that it is done. Knowing and feeling that it was done from the beginning of time. And through our willingness, through our gratitude, through our surrendering, we are now witnessing the demonstration of that doneness as it manifests in our experience. I know it, I feel it, I accept it, I give thanks for it, I allow it to be. So it is, and so be it. So it is, and so be it. Amen. And welcome back. Welcome back. And this, what we just did, was an example of this 6-step spiritual mind treatment, or the affirmative prayer, that this episode is going to be about. And I don't know what happens in you and within you as we go through the prayer, but I know what happens in me. And oh my God. Now, granted, I was kind of soaring even before we went into the prayer. But going through the prayer, I was raised even higher. I was raised even higher. And this is what the prayer does. That's why it's called a mind treatment. It is the sole purpose of the prayer is to train ourselves, to program our minds to turn away from appearances and effects that which seem to be in the external world. That we may raise our vibration to the level where anything and everything is possible, to the level where there is only peace, there is only love, there is only joy. Like if someone was to ask me right in this moment what my challenges are, I cannot. I would have to think about which they are, because I'm so prayed up that I'm above each and every single challenge. They don't exist up here. They don't exist up here. And so this is what prayer does. And that's, the topic for today, pray yourself up. This is exactly what that means. That as we go through the prayer, we release automatically. We don't have to do anything. But automatically, as we go through the prayer, as we move through the prayer, the fear, the worry, the doubt, the anxiety, it falls away. Perhaps not the first times. Perhaps not in the beginning when we set out to learn how to pray. I don't remember exactly what it was like for me when I began to learn to pray in this way. But now, it's come to the point where, and I think that I know I've shared this many times by now, but I spend a lot of my time each and every day praying. I begin my day praying, I end my day praying, and numerous occasions throughout the day I go into prayer. When I'm in my car, I use a lot of my time driving, praying in this way. And it started out as, for me, it started out as something that I thought I should do. I heard that spiritual people, they pray. And so I sort of told myself that as I'm spiritual, as I perceive myself to be spiritual, I should be praying. and so I began to pray. And I prayed, randomly. Every other day, once a week, whenever a challenge arose, I sort of went into prayer. Not this kind of prayer, but sort of a begging or asking or pleading, even demanding Spirit and God to change my external circumstances. I asked God to do something for me, to make me experience a sense of joy and peace and harmony and all that. But that's not what prayer is. And I'm thinking that we will get to this later on in this episode. But for right now, let's back up. Let's back up to this kind of prayer. It is, as I've told you, it's 6 steps. We go through 6 steps. And the first step is gratitude. The second step is recognition. The third step is unification. The fourth step is realization. The fifth step is release. I'm sorry, excuse me, thanksgiving. And the last step is release. And I'm going to explain what these mean. But this is a structured way of praying. And the purpose of this prayer, as I said before, it is not to change any condition or circumstance. It is not to get God to do anything for us. But the only purpose, the sole purpose of this prayer is to treat our minds that we may raise our vibration above and beyond the conditions. So when we pray, and perhaps you've noticed, we never want to bring a condition into the prayer. That is not what the prayer is about. We may find ourselves in a condition. We may find ourselves in a challenge. But once we move into prayer, we release and let that go. And we go into the first step, which is gratitude. And the intention and the aim of gratitude is to raise our vibration above and beyond the level of the challenges and the conditions and the circumstances. That we immediately release and let that go. That we may be receptive to the rest of the prayer. We always want to begin in and with gratitude. That vibration of being thankful and being grateful for everything and nothing. It is such a beautiful vibration. And it's such a powerful vibration that moves us. If we're talking about developing a healing consciousness, if we are talking about demonstrating, seeking for something to demonstrate or manifest in our lives and experiences, gratitude is the way to go. Because that, in that high vibration of being grateful and thankful, there is nothing hindering, obstructing, or obscuring the demonstration from happening. When we are in pure gratitude, not necessarily for something that has happened, but just as a state of being, a blissful state of being. True, we can be, or sure, we can be grateful for something that has happened, but if we relegate our gratitude only to that which has happened, it is not an unconditional gratitude. It is not a divine gratitude, but it is conditioned, and it is dictated by conditions and circumstances. So we want to seek to elevate ourselves to the level to the feeling tone of pure gratitude for simply being, awake, alive, aware, for who and what we are. for the gift of life and the beauty of life. And so that's the first step, moving into gratitude. And then from that space of being grateful, we move into the recognition state or step. And in the recognition step, this is where we begin to describe and articulate all that we know to be true about and of God. That God is omniscient, that God is omnipotent, that God is infinite love, that God is all there is, that God is eternal, that God is for us, that God is whatever you know to be true about God. This is the step to let that flow. The recognition step, the second step. And then from the recognition step, we move into the third step, which is unification. And this is where we state our oneness with the one. We state that Spirit is I am, that we and Spirit are one. There are no dualities in God. There is only one whole. And each of us is a unique and perfect emanation of that whole. We are that whole expressing itself in, as, and through us. And this, as we do this over and over and over again, and as we learn, praying in this way, it's something that we need to learn. It doesn't come by itself, but it's a practice. And the more we practice, the more comfortable and the easier it flows through us. To the point where I find myself a lot of times, I am not praying, but the prayer sort of prays me. I move into it and then I'm swept away by the prayer. More and more and more I find this happening. And it's a very interesting thing. It's like the prayer has a life of its own, and it latches onto me and moves me to wherever I need to go. But we need to practice. Repetition is the key to all learning. Repetition is the key to all reprogramming. So we need to practice on a constant and regular basis. Like I said, when I started out praying, I prayed a little bit here and a little bit there, and I didn't pray for a number of days, and then I prayed and then I forgot about it, and now I'm praying every day and most of the day. So it's an unfolding, it's a growing, it's a process, an unfolding process where we move deeper and deeper and deeper and higher and higher and higher. I would imagine that it rarely happens overnight, that we are so comfortable with praying that we just flow with it, sort of like learning a new language. At first, it takes time to get into it. It takes time to find the words. And like I'm sort of bilingual. My first language is Swedish. And when I learned English, I remember I had to translate, I had to think of what I wanted to say, and I thought of it in Swedish, and then I had to translate it in my mind into English, and then I could say it. And so in the beginning, there was a slight delay in between what I had come up with, what I wanted to say, and then translating it into English and finding the words, and then actually saying it. So there was a gap, a delay. And now, obviously, after much practice, that delay is no longer there. It doesn't mean that I always find the right words, because I don't, but the delay is not there anymore. I don't think I'm not even, when I'm speaking English, I'm not even thinking in Swedish anymore, but it's all in English. And that's how it is with prayer also. All right, so we've got the first step. Moving back to the prayer, we've got the first step, which is gratitude. We've got the second step, which is recognition. We've got the third step, which is unification. And then we've got the fourth step, which is realization. And this step, it sort of ties step 2 and step 3 together. So all of that which we have realized or recognized God to be, the second step. And then in the third step, we've come to an awareness that we and God are one. And then in the fourth step, the realization step, if it is so that we and God are one, what does it mean for us? If God are all those things, what implications does that have on our lives? What does that mean for us? Well, it means that we are forever, if God is forever sourcing and fueling and funding itself, and we and God are one, then we are forever sourced and fueled and funded. If God is forever for itself, forever seeking to come into greater and grander expressions, and we and God are one, it means that we are forever to seek to allow for greater and grander expressions of who and what we are to emerge. If God is forever sustaining and maintaining itself, it means that all of our needs are met. If God is good, fundamentally good, benevolent, it means that everywhere where we are, there is good. So this is sort of a reasoning. We're sort of drawing conclusions from the recognition of who and what God is, and the realization that we and God are one. So that means for us and our lives. Once again, this has nothing to do with conditions and circumstances. Nothing. We are above the conditions and circumstances. And then the fifth step, which is the thanksgiving step. And this, even though thanksgiving and gratitude are almost the same, this step, in the gratitude step, we give thanks, we express our gratitude for everything that is. In the thanksgiving step, step number 5, we give thanks for all of that which we have prayed for, that it is already done. That we know, we give thanks for the doneness of it, even though perhaps it has not yet demonstrated and manifested itself. But we give thanks for knowing and feeling that it is already done. I can't see it, but I know it's done. I think we've talked about on the show or in previous episodes that we want to take on that feeling tone, kind of like when we have bought something online. We've bought something, we've paid for it, we know it's on its way, and we have that feeling, the anticipation of knowing that it is ours, and it's only a matter of when is it going to show up. And so this is the feeling tone that the fifth step takes us to. That all of this that we have prayed for, it is done. It is not going to be done in some future moment, but it is done, and it is in this moment, it is happening. It is happening. It is happening in this moment. And then the last step is releasing. So we release, and the way I say it is that I release the word into the law. Sometimes I add, but I release the word and I surrender to the word. And the releasing step is about that surrendering. It is not up to us to call forth the demonstration. It is not up to us to make anything happen, but it is happening by the grace of Spirit. By the grace of Spirit. And so we can release and let go of any and all thoughts of how, any and all thoughts of when, all these things. We release and let them go, that God may have full sway of us. We get out of the way. We get our small and limited perceptions and opinions and judgments out of the way, that God may move and flow through us. So it is, so be it. Amen. So these are the 6 steps of this prayer. And I am telling you, my God, there is such power in this prayer. There is such power. And I want to invite you to find a way. And I'm not saying that you need to learn this kind of prayer. Of course you don't. But what I'm saying is that we can use prayer in the way it's intended, not to ask and beg, plead, beseech God to give us anything, but simply to raise our vibration where everything just flows, where the ease and grace of Spirit just flows. When we move into vibrational alignment with everything is working for me, all is well. Something wonderful is happening. I have everything I need. I'm forever sourced and fueled and funded. When we move into the vibrational alignment of that, as opposed to fear and worry and doubt, anxiety. When we move into vibrational alignment with everything is working for my good, what happens is that we become immune. We become immune. Fear, worry, and doubt, they lose their power over us. And it's such a beautiful thing. And I am experiencing this firsthand. As I said in the beginning of this episode, or whenever it was, that if someone were to ask me about my challenges, I couldn't remember them. But now I do have. It's not a. I'm in a situation where, had this been a number of years ago, I would have been fear struck. But that fear, the worry, the doubt, it is not there. I can sort of sense it way out in the periphery, way out. I can sort of sense it. But I have lunged into prayer so much, I've leaned into prayer so much that it is way out there. It's hardly perceptible to me. I completely live and move in the feeling tone, in the feeling and the knowing that all is well. That something wonderful is happening, that everything is for me. And all of these things that we just prayed for or prayed about. We didn't pray for anything, but prayed about. So this is what I mean by pray yourself up. We don't have to be dependent on circumstances and conditions being a certain way for us to experience peace and joy and love and harmony and wholeness. But we can create, or we can co-create these qualities, which really is the essence of who and what we are. So we can give it permission to come forth by allowing the prayer to work us, by coming back to the prayer, by leaning into the prayer until the prayer becomes as habitual to us as breathing or as blinking. Obviously, it takes time, but the promised land is here. Heaven is here. It is right within us. And prayer and meditation are beautiful and powerful ways of accessing and giving it permission to move and flow through us. So my invitation is, we talked about last week about the moments in between. And we've talked about the moments in between many times. And my invitation to you is to use these moments in between. Use your moments in between to experiment, to practice taking charge of your own vibration, of your own wholeness, of your own life by prayer. That's my encouragement. I think there's a lot more to say about prayer, but I have a feeling that still small voice is telling me that we're done for today. If you want to know more about prayer, and if you want to learn how to pray in this way, I'm going to say that also. But if you want to learn how to pray, if you want to learn this 6-step spiritual mind treatment or the affirmative prayer, I invite you to go to agapelive.com. They have courses and classes teaching prayer, among other things. And also my invitation is that you practice and that you do it on a regular basis. Perhaps put a post-it note somewhere where you see it, or create a habit of whenever you go to the bathroom, you move into prayer. And it doesn't have to take long. A prayer can be 20 minutes, it can be longer, but it doesn't have to be. It can be only a couple of minutes. It's all a matter of choosing. It's all a matter of intending. Like the willingness step, or the pillar of willingness. Are we willing to do what we need to do to call forth the wholeness? Are we willing to roll up our sleeves and get down to business and do the work, the inner work? I know I am. the best of my ability. Always, always, always to the best of our ability. We always want to be gentle and kind with ourselves, compassionate. All right. I'm going to bless us out. And as I do, I'm going to be moving through these 6 steps. And so I'll make them a little bit clearer than I usually do for the purpose of this episode and for the purpose of making it clear. And so the first step is gratitude. And so I am so grateful for this episode and for the ease and grace to which things flow through me. I'm so grateful for the field, once again, for this field that has been created and co-created by all of us. An eternal field, an infinite field. I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for the technology that allows us to commune and connect in this way. I'm so grateful for that still small voice that guides and leads and moves me as we engage in this podcast and as I record these podcasts. It's an interesting thing how I never know what I'm going to say, and yet it comes out beautifully. And so I'm so grateful for that still small voice. And I'm grateful for Spirit guiding and leading and moving me. And from this space of gratitude, we move into the second step, which is the recognition step. And so I recognize that God is omniscient, all-knowing. That God is omnipresent, everywhere present. God is omnipotent, the only power. I recognize that God is benevolent forever for each of us, because God is all of us. The God has no beginning nor end. He's not bound by time or space. But the God is fully present everywhere. And moving into the third step, the unification. And as God is fully present everywhere, it must mean that God is fully present right where I am, right where you are, right where we are. God is. There is no you, there is no me. There is only the whole. There is only the one expressing itself as you and me. As God cannot ever divide itself into parts or diminish itself. All of us are connected and interconnected in a beautiful way. We're all one. And then we move to the fifth step, the realization step. And as God is forever sourcing and fueling and funding itself, it must mean that God is forever sourcing and fueling and funding all of us as we and God are one. Which means that right where we are in this very moment, everything we need, we have. Everything we need, we have. All of our needs are met. We're lacking nothing. We're missing nothing. And as we make ourselves open and available for the realization of who and what God is, thus who and what we are to emerge, all of the essence of Spirit flows through us with such ease and grace. So in this moment, something wonderful is happening. As we lean into God, as we lean into Spirit, all is well. So we can rest fully knowing that we need not do anything but be still. And so as we move into the 5th step, the Thanksgiving step, for all this I give thanks. I give thanks fully knowing that it is done in the infinite mind of spirit. It is done. It is done. It is done. And the 6th step, and as I release this word into the law, I do so fully surrendered to the word, knowing and feeling that it is manifesting, demonstrating itself in this very moment. I let go of everything. I hold on to nothing. And so I let it be, and so it is. Amen. Once again, welcome back, and at the same time, bye-bye. So grateful for your presence, so grateful for your participation, so grateful for your choosing to tune in. Until the next time, I bless your way, and I bless your day. Namaste. You have been listening to an episode of the Path to Freedom podcast with me, Daniel Roqueo. I invite you to stay tuned for more episodes. If you have any questions or comments, or just want to get more inspiration and empowerment, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. I also invite you to visit my website, danielroqueo.com. I bless your day, and I bless your way, you beautiful, wonderful being.